Hello everyone, and welcome back to our second session on the day one of the Blockchain Community Day Conference. And my name is Alec. I am the Community Manager at Blockchain Professionals. And today we are continuing with the topic of how we can front-run crypto exploits before they even happen, presented by Alexander Seleznev, who is a founding CEO at pessimistic.io. And previously, Alexander has been leading a blockchain security team for the past 6 years, who performed several hundreds of security audits and developed several security tools for Web3 developers. And also, Sasha is a host of the Basic Block podcast. And before we start, I would like to ask you to leave any questions in the live chat and wherever you are watching this. And without further ado, I think we are good to start. So, hi, Alexander. Please, a couple of welcome words from you, and the floor is yours. Good luck.
Hi, Alec. Thank you for introducing me. You actually stole the content of my first slide. Oh, no. And yes, thank you for inviting me to this beautiful conference. I want to say that the soundtrack is fantastic. Okay, so let's start. And the topic of my talk is how we can front-run crypto exploits before they even happen. And since we have a lot of time, I decided to perform a bigger version of my presentation with a longer introduction to actual tools that could be used. So in granting the security of Web3 protocols. Okay, so let's start. A couple of words about me. As Alec already said, I work in Web3 security for 6 years already, and I led the development of several open source security tools like Smart Check or Slytherin. I think all the gangsters know these names. And yes, and also some of you maybe know my voice because I am the host of Basic Block Radio, one of the most prominent blockchain podcasts in Eastern Europe in Russian language. So yeah, let's start. And before we actually go to the content, I want to say thank you to my team, Pessimistic. Without their hard work and their analytic skills, this talk would be impossible. So Pessimistic is a small team that audits top Web3 companies like OneInch, Zerion, etc. We perform security research, and you can go to our weblog to know more about secure development and how to safely integrate into bigger protocols like Aave, Compound, how to use security tools and all this stuff. And we also develop security tooling. And about one of these tools, Spotter, I will talk more a bit later. So let's start. As most of you probably know, crypto hacks are a huge problem for our industry, and the number of hacks has been growing like 60% per year, and almost 4 billion USD were stolen or lost because of the crypto hacks last year. And the problem is absolutely of absolutely insane size. And as I think most of you maybe already know, the most common way to deal with these risks, the risks of being hacked, is to perform one or two or several security audits. And the problem of security audits is that security audit is manual work. It's 90% manual work, and security audit cannot neither guarantee the absence of hack, and security audit also cannot move with the same speed as the industry does. So because auditors are overloaded with the work, and their slots are booked like a month in advance, and if you want to make some quick tweak and quickly audit it, it's almost impossible. So it's absolutely obvious to security professionals in Web3 that Web3 needs scalable, automated security solutions, not just manual security audits. And for example, if we take a look at Web2 security, in Web2 security is highly automated. So you can see a list of abbreviations, which means approaches in making Web2 products secure in an automated way. So let's take a look at what automated tools do we have in Web3 for now. And I would also extend this title to what useful automated tools do we have in Web3 for now. Because don't get me wrong, there are many, hundreds of security tools which are currently developed for Web3, but most of them, like 99%, are not really useful. So as a blockchain developer, most probably, if you try to use just any tool out there, you will just waste your time, because they are like pre-production ready. So let's take a look at the ways to make your product secure from auditor point of view. So from auditor point of view, all Web3 security can be classified as before the deployment security, then the audit at the end of before the deployment security, and after deployment security. So let's take a deeper look into before deployment and after deployment security. So before deployment, the biggest things that you can do to actually secure your product is first, having extensive specification. You won't believe how there are a few protocols who actually have extensive specification for the protocols, and this is absolutely insane, because because of this, many details of implementations are getting lost in the conversation, and sometimes developers even are not fully aware what management wants them to do. So lack of specification is a great problem for security, because in most cases, security invariants and the things that are absolutely crucial for security are not extensively marked for developers. The second thing is large test suite. I think that writing tests is way more important than anything automated that goes after that, because no audit can actually guarantee that the code works as you intended it to work in happy scenarios, because auditor you need to test the happy functionality. You need because auditors try to understand what can go wrong, but they do not guarantee that everything will go right, what you expect to go right. So the next thing is static analysis tools. There are actually several very useful static analysis tools. The most useful of them all is Slither. And if you want just to save your time using static analysis tools, just go with Slither. Because Mythics, Mithril, and all other static analysis tools, they are usually not just as useful as Slither. Second automated item in this list is fuzzing. So as for fuzzing, I would recommend using Echidna from the same developers from 12 bits, because fuzzing is a bit more time consuming. So you will need much more time to actually set up fuzzing environment, and you will need like several weeks for fuzzing tools to actually produce some useful output. However, the output from fuzzing tools can be really useful if you want to find some edge cases which are really hard to find by static analysis tools and by manual audits. So the output from fuzzing tools is almost always true positive. So they generate a less false positive rate than other tools. And the last thing, last but not the least, is the formal verification. I remember that several years ago, formal verification was considered like a silver bullet. People thought that once we are able to do formal verification, and once the formal verification tools are mature enough, then security problem will be solved. Unfortunately, it's not the case, because for formal verification, you need a lot of time and you need a lot of expertise. We talked to several teams who help developers to do formal verification, for example, with Certora. And usually it requires several months of your developer's time. And it requires a lot of help from the team who actually helps you to set up formal verification. And it requires a lot of expertise on your side. And so formal verification is like ultra hardcore way to ensure that some part of your protocol works as you want it to work, because it's almost impossible to cover the whole protocol with the formal verification. And you could notice that I color coded 3 items in this list. And so I did it to show that these 3 items can be automated, and so they are scalable and not manual work. So about after deployment. After deployment, you could set up a bug bounty, and we highly recommend to do this because bug bounty is a cheap way of actually forcing people to look into your code, so you can ensure that many eyes will look into your code to try to help you and help themselves to secure bug bounty. We also highly recommend development teams to implement incident response playbook. And it is really not obvious, but it is really important to write down the incident response script, because in case of any incident, you will be stressed. You won't know what to do. It will be hard to communicate with your team members. It will be hard to split the responsibilities between team members. So it will be you will need to write down it before something dangerous happens, in order to minimize your mental work once you are stressed. And we have experience in managing incidents, and I can guarantee that this really helps, and you will thank yourself for doing this. Third item in this list is key management and decentralization. And so I think it's obvious that it will really help you to avoid rug pulls and help you to minimize trust to any of your team members. And the second item is insurance. Insurance solutions are somewhat not mature enough at the moment. However, you could try to use these early solutions, as I believe they already can give you more degree, the bigger degree of safety than you have without doing this. And it also won't cost you a lot of development time. And the last but not the least, monitoring. As for me, I personally strongly believe that security monitoring will be the next big thing in Web3 security. And from now on, I will talk about security monitoring. Before the last year, the monitoring tools landscape was pretty scarce. So we had just several tools like Defender, which you could use to monitor like events and state changes of your smart contracts. Dune Analytics, which you could use to monitor business metrics, liquidity in your protocol. Tenderly, which you could use to easy set up no-code monitoring. And Forta, which is a universal and big and complex decentralized solution, which requires a lot of time to set up, but which could potentially in the future give you a big set of tools to work with to secure your protocol. And from now on, there is another tool that is called Spotter that we develop, which helps you to predict hacks. So you could know about an impeding crypto hack within a second after hackers started preparing for the hack. So the idea of such predictive monitoring was born in late 2022, and several teams around the globe started developing such tools. And to illustrate the basic idea behind this, I will just take a step back and tell you more about the bigger picture. So, according to recent studies, more than half of all hacks are performed in several steps, which include funding. Funding is when hacker takes the money for the hack from some shady place, for example, Tornado Cash or some other mixer or from some blacklisted account. Then the second step is a preparation for the hack. During this stage, hacker usually deploys a supplementary malicious smart contract that contains all the logic of the exploit. And then the hack itself, during this stage, the hacker calls to one of the methods of these malicious smart contract that he or she deployed during the previous stage. And the money loss happens during this stage. And after that goes the money laundering, when hacker tries to launder the money that he got after this exploit. So if we detect the early stages of the hack, and we can do this, we can take measures, defensive measures, before the third step, before the loss of funds happens. So let's imagine what we could do to prevent one of the major hacks that happened recently, the earlier hack. So during the earlier hack, hacker took his money or her money from a mixer and deployed the smart contract, which contained malicious things like flash loan, signature of a function that was used by earlier finance protocol, etc., etc. So this smart contract was obviously malicious, and obviously it could be used for attack of earlier finance. We actually detected the deployment transaction of this smart contract seconds after it got to the mempool. And so on the right, you could see the screenshot of our tweet that in which we notified that we actually saw the upcoming attack. So as for the moment, we were in testing environment, so we were not integrated with Euler. But if we were, we could perform an API call to Euler and notify them. So, and we could perform API call to wallets and API call to node operators. And we could trigger the defense response before the hack even occurred on chain. So the protocol could be paused. Wallets could automatically withdraw their users' funds on behalf of their users. We could notify AML officers from centralized exchanges to not to accept this money from that hacker get from this hack, and etc. etc. So there are a lot of things that you can do to actually prevent the hack once you know that the hack is going to happen in several minutes. In order to give you a bit more of technical information, I could talk more about the analysis techniques that can be used for analysis of the upcoming hacks. So in our work, we rely mostly on static analysis. So with the static analysis, we extract the high-level information about the attacking smart contract from the bytecode. And we use this high-level information to feed it into a machine learning model to capture statistical differences in bytecode between the attacking contract and the so-called normal contract. So this is an approach that we use. And the biggest pro of this approach is that it is really, really quick. We can get a response, we can get a risk score within a fraction of seconds, and we can launch defense measures, in a fraction of seconds. So, yeah, and the next approach is dynamic analysis. We do not use it for now because of the reasons I will tell about later. So, using dynamic analysis, you can simulate all the transactions that are launched into mempool, and you could check the according cash flow that is rising due to these transactions. But the problem of this approach is that there are just too many transactions in the mempool. So you cannot do it effectively because it requires a lot of computational power, and you cannot do it really quickly. Another approach is you could just fuzz suspicious contracts and verify whether this contract is really an attack, just to minimize false positive alerts. But this approach is really a bit too slow for the quick reaction for actually defending against the hack that could happen any second, because you just do not have this second. Pure machine learning approach can be used to absorb all available information about transactions and contracts to produce risk score. But the problem of pure machine learning approach is that the pool of attacks, the information database of attacks is just very small, because through the whole history of Web3, we had like several hundreds of hacks. Most of them are not even documented, I believe. So we in Pessimistic, we have our own database, and we are constantly working into make it comprehensive, but it is still it's still too small for for using machine learning, for relying purely on machine learning. Also, you could perform address risk scoring, which is pretty easy and which can be done using current current state of the Web3. You could simply blacklist all the sanctioned addresses. You could blacklist all the addresses related to any illegal activity. And you could also use machine learning to build a transaction graph, to build risk scoring model, to actually to blacklist any address that machine learning model could find as potentially threatening to your account, to your protocol. So that's it for techniques. You see that there is a big amount of approaches that could be tested, and I believe that all of them will be implemented to some extent in the nearest future. But there are ideological problems that we need to solve in the upcoming years to actually make it the next big thing in Web3 security. The biggest problem for DeFi protocols who are going to be attacked and who want to prevent these attacks is that they simply cannot react to an identified attack in time. By in time, I mean minutes, because some protocols are completely cannot be paused. They completely cannot be stopped, paused, or affected in any way. Some of them need a DAO solution to pause the protocol or do any other defensive action. So protocols need to change their approach and to change their vision of security assumptions in order to fully use the full power of proactive monitoring approach. And we have some ideas on how to ease these transitions, but I think that it will go over time. And if you have any questions, I could answer to them off stage. Another problem is that hackers are usually not very dumb. Once hackers see that such solutions are going mainstream, they will try to hide their actions. They will try to obfuscate the transactions or to obfuscate attacking contract. They will try to merge the attack transaction and the attacking contract deployment into one transaction. They will try to hide their attacks into flash bots, into private mining pools, all this stuff. And in this case, we also I think we will go to the same fight in which search engines go with search engine spammers. So it's an eternal fight of sword and shield. So we will need to fight this battle, I think, in the upcoming years. But I believe that in the end, this will make the life of a hacker much more difficult. And it will introduce new risks into hackers' life. And I believe that at one moment, performing a hack of a Web3 protocol will be as risky and unprofitable as actually robbing a bank in the modern world. So no one robs any banks because it's just too risky and not profitable. The third problem is lack of trust to a centralized closed source protocol project like ours. And I think that this problem can be solved just by decentralizing the decision between several security data providers and delegating the decision of performing certain actions to other security information providers. So I believe that at some moment this could be all the security information providers could form some kind of ecosystem that could be decentralized enough for DeFi protocols to trust to. And the last problem is precision and recall. So the number of false positives and false negatives. Because I think no one wants to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to just some false positive alerts. So all of the security information providers will need to hone their analysis techniques to minimize false positive and false negative rates. So let me show you how it works, actually. I have a quick video demo. So the easiest way to show how easy it is to set up proactive monitoring is to use our Telegram bot. So here is how it looks like. And so today I will pretend that I want to break Curve 3 pool. I will just go to the website of Curve and copy paste the address of smart contract of the pool from their website and just drop it directly into our bot. Yeah, so you see that bot currently analyzes smart contracts, and bot has created custom monitoring detector that monitors mempool for any malicious smart contract, for any malicious activity that could somehow affect Curve 3 pool. So now I will pretend that I am hacker and I want to break Curve 3 pool. So I prepared some seemingly malicious smart contract, similar to the one that was used to hack earlier. So it contains some flash loan and the address of Curve 3 pool. And I will imitate the attack. So I will just deploy this smart contract right to the mainnet. So I will just sign the transaction with MetaMask. And let's see what happens. So as you see, we received the alert from our bot in a couple of seconds after I signed the deployed transaction. So this means that we know about the attack and we have actually performed some defensive action before the preparation for the hack was even mined. So we're like 2 steps ahead from the hacker. So our product is now available for testing, both as a B2B version and a B2C version. So there are several notable DeFi protocols who are already using our tool to monitor what they are building. And we get some nice feedback from them. So you can join them and try Spotter to actually monitor suspicious activity. I guarantee it will be much fun. So yeah, that's it. Oh, hi, Alec. How are you? I think you are muted.
Second, yeah. So I hope you can hear me now. So please, yeah. Thank you, Alexander, for your wonderful presentation. I think that was very useful in the means of engagement into the topic of front running. And I know that there is not so much. Hey.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think, yeah, sorry. Yes, I think I'm experiencing some internet lags. I hope you can hear me now. So yeah, there is not so many content on the internet about front running. I mean, in terms of the most recent updates about front running. And let's just quickly go through the questions which we received from our live chat. So the first question is quite short, which says, is front running illegal in crypto?
No, in crypto, the code is low. So I would say that currently things that are illegal from the, from general point of view, from just a common sense, are either illegal now in crypto or are going to be illegal in the upcoming years once the regulators come into Web3 more and more. And once more big players like traditional banks, traditional finance go into industry, the more compliance we get in the industry, and the more this kind of stuff of like front running will become illegal. But as for now, it's Wild West, so enjoy it while it lasts.
Okay, yes, and the compliance topic is also very hot nowadays. And I remember that you previously mentioned about the obfuscation. And yeah, I just wanted to remind our audience that we will have another talk with our colleague Michal Shepanik about smart contract obfuscation. So please don't miss that one. And that will start in a couple of hours. And the second question for you, Alexander, is how to detect and prevent NFT front running.
I would say that this question is addressed to the wrong person, because I'm not a trader and I'm not into trading. So we are like what we are focusing on the crypto hacks. So what we want to prevent is we want to prevent hackers from breaking the protocols. So this is very narrow area of activity, which we expect will save everyone a lot of money, and which will give everyone working in the industry right now a lot of money, because this will help our industry to survive and to grow. So we are not like in much into trading stuff. We are more into security stuff.
Okay, and I think that was the last question so far. Please leave your questions if there are any before we go to the next session. And yes, one interesting thing I mentioned that I'm also a podcast listener at the Basic Blog podcast, and that's kind of funny for me to recognize your voice and now to know how you look like. I mean, I've never seen you before this conference, before we started preparing for this conference, but I always recognized your voice, and yeah, that's kind of interesting to be able to have a look.
Yeah. It happens sometimes, and even sometimes it happens after an hour of conversation. When I mention that I also run a podcast, a person to whom I talk to says, "Oh, this is why your voice seems so
familiar."
So yeah, so familiar. Yeah.
Okay, so I think for now that was it in terms in the questions part. If there will be some new questions, I will send them to you via text messengers, and we will come back to the questions in written form. And now I would like to remind the audience that we will be back in 6 or 7 minutes, something like that, with our friends at Spatium. CEO of Spatium, Vasily Pavlov, will be talking about common mistakes businesses make when connecting their products to Web3. And on this positive note, I would like to say thank you to Alexander, thank you to our audience, and see you in 7 minutes. Okay, then. Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.